Okay, everybody, if you're back, I believe you are here for the second video of this essay process, which is how to write the body paragraphs to your essay, which are essentially the most important part of your essay because this is where the bulk of your writing and where you set out to prove your thesis statement will occur. This will take probably the most time for some of you. It could take a couple, maybe even a few days to complete. Okay, so if you look on the screen, you should see the essay outline that we've been working on already. If you haven't opened this up, just remember that it's right here at the top of Google Classroom. You just go ahead and click on this, open it up, and make sure you have this open on your screen so you can work along with me as I show you how to outline and begin to outline a body paragraph. Okay, so if you scroll through, you see that I have my sample outline with the one I've been using along with you all. I have my list of groups and categories that I'm going to talk about in my essay. I have these boxes filled with all my examples that I plan to use in my essay. Um, you should also have the thesis statement written out already if you've already done your introduction, and you should have your introduction written out. Now, I know I haven't shown you all of this, and because I just didn't want to give too much away, but this is my attention getting statement. This is my background information, and this is my thesis statement. Right. Most important thing being is the thesis statement. The thesis statement is what's ultimately going to drive the rest of your essay. So, just to review my thesis statement really quickly, and yours should look something like this. It says, through an analysis of numerous resources and text, the four main groups or categories that suffer when a crime is committed are direct victims, family and loved ones, society at large, and offenders. So, again, these are the four different categories and groups that I'm going to be talking about in my essay. But remember, you might have four different ones depending on what you outline. So now you're ready to do your body paragraphs. All right. Now, each body paragraph focuses on a different category. So you'll be writing a different body paragraph for each one of these different categories. So my body paragraph one is my first group that suffers from a crime when it's committed. My body paragraph two is my second group that suffers. My body paragraph three is my third group that suffers. And if I write a fourth one, my body paragraph four is my fourth group that suffers. And remember, you don't have to write a fourth one, it's if needed. However, if you want to write a longer, more full, or more detailed essay, one that more likely might capture that A or B, I highly recommend it. But it's not necessary. You can still get an A or B if the quality of your three body paragraphs are strong. All right, so let's just scroll back up here. So again, I'm going to use my thesis statement here to drive the rest of my paper. So my body paragraph one is going to focus on an explanation of the first group number one that suffers. And my first group is the first group listed in my thesis statement, which is direct victims. All right. So in this body paragraph, I need to start off with a topic sentence. Then I give one example. Then I give one example provided from my list. Again, and I'll remember all these examples come up here. Again, here's my example. Here's my group, and here's the three examples I'm going to talk about. Right. So first thing I need to do is just kind of introduce what group or category I'm going to be talking about in this paragraph. Right. Now you can do this a number of ways. I'm just gonna, there's no right way to write this opening sentence, but you want to introduce this group. So I could say something along the lines of the first group that suffers when a crime is committed is the direct victims, period. Okay. Now that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? I don't need to overwrite my sentence. I just need to make it very clear what is this body paragraph going to be about, right? So what I'd like you to do right now is to pause the video and write an introduction sentence for this first body paragraph for your essay. All right, if you're back, then I'm sure you have this box filled, which means you're now ready to get into your first example. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to look and I'm going to see that the first example I want to talk about is the 2020 episode Escape from the House of Horrors. Right? This is the one that I want to address. So I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to say um, one example of direct victims who greatly suffered physical, emotional, and psychological impacts. Typo there. I'm always correcting my grammar as I go. Psychological impacts caused by the trauma of a crime are the Turpin children in the episode of 2020 called Escape from a House, sorry, typos, of Horrors. Right? So I introduced these victims, but that's still not enough. I need to talk about what was their specific experience that happened to them as well. Right. So I can say something along the lines like 13 children in the Turpin family were held captive and not let out of their homes by their parents. Right? Good, right? So now I give some more information about how they were direct victims, but I might want to elaborate. I might want to go on a little bit and talk a little bit more about the abuse that they suffered. The children were often chained to their beds, kept without food, were not permitted contact with the outside world, and were limited, or I'm sorry, and were living in filth and squalor. Squalor is just a fancy word kind of for poverty, right? So see how I went into kind of detail here about what they actually were victims of, what made this crime in particular. Right? Now that I've set that up, now I can now move on to talk about the impact of the crime. What was the impact of what these children went to on uh, on the children themselves, on society, on anybody involved in this case? What was the influence or the impact of it? All right. Now, I don't want to write anything right here because I don't want to give you too much to utilize. I want you to write your own. So what I'd like you to do right now is, in just a second, I'd like you to pause the video. I'd like you to introduce and write about your first example that you're going to use and the impact that of this crime had on not only the victims but also um, maybe other elements as well. So go ahead, pause the video, and do that now. All right, if you're back, then I'm assuming that you have your box A and your impact box also completed as well, right? Which means you're now ready to move on to your second example. So I'm going to scroll back up here. I'm going to look. The second example I want to talk about is the 57 bus by Dashka Slater. So I can come back right down here. I can say something along the lines of another example of a direct victim who suffered horrifically. I'm just adding different language from a crime is Sasha in the story The 57 Bus by Dashka Slater. Right. Now, I introduced it, but that's still not enough. I want to talk about exactly how was this person a victim. Sasha is an agender person who would often dress in clothing such as a skirt. When riding on a bus one day, Sasha was sleeping and attacked by a person named Richard who set Sasha's dress or skirt, I guess you can say skirt, on fire. In result, Sasha suffered major third-degree burns along their legs, as well as severe emotional and psychological trauma. So then I talked about this victim here, right? And then what I want to do is go and really go into detail about the impact of this crime on this particular person as well. All right? So what I'd like you to do now is to pause the video and complete your second example for the impact for your specific category that you're writing about at this moment. So pause the video and do that now. All right, if you're back, and I'm sure you have all these boxes filled as well, which means you're ready to move on to your third example. So I'm going to scroll back up here. I'm going to look, and my third example is the Tylenol murders. So I'm going to come back down here, and I'm just going to say a third example of direct victims. Remember, I'm always throwing that direct victims in there because that's what I'm talking about, who suffered from a crime were those who died in the infamous Chicagoland unsolved case known as the Tylenol murders. I should capitalize the here. Again, I'm always fixing my grammar as I go. Okay. And then, of course, I would repeat the process too. I would go back and explain what happened, how these people were direct victims, and then once again, doing the impact of the crime. So once again, I'd like you to pause now and to do your third example. But remember, your third example should most likely be something from the real world that was outside of our curriculum, something that you particularly studied or a different source. Remember, you wanted two from our unit and then one of your own. So go ahead, pause the video, and do your third one here. Okay, if you're back, then you're ready to close out this paragraph. Again, a closing statement should just be something along the lines of wrapping up the paragraph, kind of tying it all together. I could write something like, therefore, the trauma that a direct victim or victims in a crime can have long lasting impacts on those victims, right? Often requiring, I'm just going to elaborate here, some therapy, medical treatment, and support to heal. So again, I just kind of wrapped up that paragraph by just talking about, what direct victims go through, closing out it. Very simple, one or two sentences is all you need for a closing statement. So go ahead and close out your first paragraph on your outline. Okay, so if you're back, your first paragraph should now be completely outlined for your first group. which means you are now ready. All these boxes should be filled, which means you're now ready to move to your second body paragraph, right? And of course, your second body paragraph is your second group that suffers. So you go back up to your little chart up here. My second group that suffers is my family and loved ones. So I can come back down here and I can say, I want kind of some kind of transition statement here. So I can say, in addition to the direct victims, notice I'm kind of doing a transition from my previous paragraph to my new one. Another group that suffers when a crime is committed is the family and loved ones involved in that crime. Right? And now I'm ready to go ahead and just wash, rinse, and repeat the entire process that I did for my first body paragraph, but I'm now going to do it for my second one, which is family and loved ones. And so I would go back up, get my first example. So I'm going to, in this one, I'm going to talk about the Netflix docuseries, The Staircase. Right? I would also talk about in this paragraph the families in this short story Entwined. And then for me, I would also talk about the family in Gift Wrap Fathers, the poem. Um, you obviously can use whatever second category you're talking about and the examples that you provided. And then you want to just do what you did with this first paragraph in your second paragraph. Right? And of course, you would move on to your third body paragraph, which is your third group. And then if you have a fourth body paragraph, your fourth body paragraph, which is your fourth group. But you really want to take your time with this. You want to stop. You want to reread all your sentences. Make sure your grammar looks good. Really elaborate. More detailed, the better. You might even throw some quotes in from some of the stories that were said. This is where you can kick out your notes, your old packets. You can use that as well. And continue to outline this essay. Once you have all your body paragraphs outlined and you've reached your conclusion, you'll be ready to write your conclusion and then put it all together, which will be on the third and final video. All right, so good luck to you in outlining your body paragraphs. Let me know if you need any help. You could always rely on your any classmates or friends in the class to help edit your work as you work together, if you want to work together. Or you can call me over, and I'll be more than happy to assist you if you need any help. All right, good luck to you.